What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back, everyone. This is Lee, and yes, today we'll be talking about the LG 27EQ850B. So, with all that said, let's begin. So right before we get started, I just want to bring out two things. Number one, this is a monitor that I bought for myself because my current setup, my BenQ, they're not doing that great. You'll see it in the video when we start doing the test. Now, number two, this is the LG 27EQ850-B. This is a 26.9 inch monitor. This is not the EP950-B. That's the 26.5 inch monitor. Now, with all that out the way, let's get into some unboxing. Now, as for the unboxing of the LG 27EQ850-B, before we get even started, I just want to point out that I'll be referring this monitor as the LG 27 OLED display because the serial number, the model number is it's just too much for me to keep saying. Now, in this first layer of the styrofoam, you get your monitor base for your stand. You also get your power AC adapter brick. Then you also will get a cable clip to organize your cables on your monitor stand. Also, you get a DC extension cable and also a USB-C cable. Now, LG is very generous at this point. They give you two DisplayPort cables and also a USB-A to a USB-B cable, and that is for your color calibration sensor where you need to install it through the monitor with that cable connected to your computer, which we'll get into later on in this video. Now, at the second layer of the styrofoam, you get your color calibration sensor. This is to calibrate your monitor. Also, you get your monitor hood, which is something that I don't ever use, so we'll not even bother with that. But you could use it if you want, if you're working in a bright environment area. Now, you also get your monitor stand, and last but not least, you get your monitor, and it's pretty light actually. It's about 6.8 pounds. So yeah, I'm not buff, obviously, and I could just lift it with one arm and I don't feel any fatigue right there. So yeah, it's such a pretty light monitor actually. Now for the general spec of this monitor, this is the LG 27EQ850-B. I did not know why would I even say the serial number when I just told you guys I will never. Anyways, this is a 26.9 inch monitor, a matte finish monitor. And let me tell you guys, the 26.9 is because that the 0.1 is for their sensor shift technology to reduce the burn-in. We'll take a look at that in a bit. Also, quick specs, this is a 4K monitor and it has 1,000,000:1 contrast ratio. That is pretty good. That is pretty crazy. Also, this is 60 Hertz, 1 millisecond of response time. As for the color gamut, is 99% Adobe RGB, 99% DCI P3. Also, this is a 10-bit monitor with HDR10. Now, as we take a closer look at the border of the screen, there's two things you should know. Number one, you should definitely have a microfiber cloth to wipe out the dust off the screen because the screen will get dusty real quick. And number two, that black border is for the screen shift, and that is to reduce the burn-in of the OLED display. So that is a feature that comes with the screen, and this is why it's labeled as 26.9 instead of a 27-inch screen. Now, as we take a look at the screen, I just want to point out that the screen itself is kind of reflective. Even though it's matte, you can see the bottom of the screen. That's a reflection of my table. So with that said, make sure that you do dim down the lights, and also if you want, use the monitor hood that comes with the screen. So that's definitely going to help your user experience right there. But I don't like the monitor hood. It's nothing against LG or anyone. I just don't like the monitor hood in general. But anyways, now as we take a look at the back of the monitor, you get your USB-C 90-watt delivery, and yes, it does charge up my MacBook 13-inch M1 Pro laptop with no problems. Now, you also get two display ports and also one HDMI 2.0. Now, I am using the KVM switch technology that's built in the monitor. I'm switching between my Mac and my PC, so that is a pretty good feature that this monitor also has. Now, you also get three USB-A ports, one USB-B port. You also get a 3.5mm headphone jack and also your DCI in. And also, you can hook this up to a monitor arm if you want. Now, let's take a look at the bottom of the monitor. And as for the bottom of the monitor, you do not get any audio, so make sure you have external speakers or a headphone for your audio jack. Also, you get a very nice joystick that is really responsive to navigate through your menus. Now with all those specs out the way, let's put this monitor together. Now for those people that never assemble a monitor stand, number one, you need to put the base on the table. Number two, you put the pole on top of the base. Number three, you screw it on together, the base to the pole. And number four, you apply the monitor onto the monitor stand rig that you just assembled. And there you go. Now, when we lower the monitor to the lowest level, it's about 18.5 inches from the table to the top of the monitor. And then when we lift the monitor up to the maximum level, it's about 23 inches from the tip of the monitor to the bottom of the table. But the downside to this monitor stand is that there's no rotation. So if you want that, you need to apply it to a monitor arm like I did. So yeah, there we go. Now as for power usage, I got about roughly around 61 watts to 30 watts. And that's just give or take. So it's around that ballpark. Now in terms of temperature on the AC adapter, surprisingly, after one entire day of usage, 8 hours, no, this was 10 hours. It's around 92.4 Fahrenheit. So it's not bad actually. It's not bad. Now, let's take a look at some lux reading. Now, as for the lux reading, I have the brightness raised up to 100% and I went through every single picture mode. I'm getting roughly around 388 lux up to 600. Now, the reason why I had to buy the LG 27EQ850-B is because my BenQ EL2870U is not holding up in today's climate. I mean, the saturation is off. Also, the blacks aren't black, as you can see. It just, if I edit on my BenQ monitor and I think that it looks good, it will be overly saturated on a LG monitor. It just doesn't look right. So this is why some of my previous video in the past seems kind of oversaturated, and that's because of my monitor. I cannot see what I'm actually editing. So this is why I picked up the LG 27EQ850-B. But there is a problem with my LG though. In this sample right here, it's flickering. It's because my cinema camera is shooting at 180 degrees, and for some interesting reason, it's flickering. And with that said, if you're playing a lot of video games, this may not be the monitor for you guys. But for everyone that's doing like visual work, you will not be able to see this flickering, or even when I'm watching this, I don't see it. Now, as for the calibration test, I'll be using the LG color calibration sensor tool. I'll be calibrating the software, and while calibrating in their software, it took about 17 minutes to complete. That took a long time, but yeah, it took about 17 minutes to complete. Here are my results right there. Now, I'll be also calibrating my monitor with the Calibrite Display Pro HL, and this took about 10 minutes to calibrate with 96 patches. So keep that in mind, a lot faster than the LG calibration tool. Now, as for the calibration test, on the left is the factory calibration, in the middle is the LG calibration, and on the far right is the Calibrite calibration. And at first glance, I did not see a big difference, to be quite honest. But if you take a closer look, the Calibrite is just a hair brighter, which means that if you're using the monitor straight out from the factory calibration, you're basically 99% there. If you want to push it that 1%, get yourself a Calibrite calibration tool. So with that said, I'm going to end this video right here. Thank you guys for tuning in, but I do want you guys to stay a little longer so you guys can watch the entire test. So with that said, thank you guys for checking back. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Definitely click like and subscribe, and definitely leave your comments down below. Enjoy the rest of the test. All right, take it easy. Peace.